So the 1888 and or the 25 into the 7 shows you that this is a hoax. The pyramids are a hoax. All right. First off, they're not pyramids, being that they have a flat top. They are oblong cubes. But besides that, they're not thousands of years old. In fact, they're only a couple hundred years old. I'm putting them somewhere in the late to mid 1700s when they were built. The 1888 code gives it away, going in the 25 or the 7, which brings up the 1776 code, going that King George is in fact George Washington. You do know that, right? That then brings in the idea of the hoax revolution, also bringing in the idea of the dollar bill with the unfinished pyramid on the back. So that bringing this in the 1700s. And that's right where I say this is. This would be, who built this? This would be built by armies, starting with the French army, when that was taken from the what would be called the Ottoman Empire and or brought into the West. I understand that most people observe or believe it to be a Muslim nation, which it is in fact religiously or culturally, but it has always been a outpost of the West, going back to the idea of the Library of Alexandria, that hidden knowledge, that idea of 1776, which it in itself is a hoax as well. All right? So then look at this. This is all contrived. Look around. You can see that they wrote one layer, they kind of smeared it out, and then they wrote on top of another layer with, it looks like almost the same hand. In fact, a lot of the cursive you can see is the same person writing it. You can see that. So then moving forward, you can go back even to the drawings talking about the battle of the pyramids, or battle at the pyramids, the so-called. Okay, so then the painting of the famous battle of the pyramids should look very similar to what you're used to seeing, right? The Giza Plateau, and that looks nothing like it. That looks somewhere, I don't know where that is. Has nothing to do with Egypt, not as far as I know. So then how do I know that it's been contrived and it's nothing more than a modern day, and when I mean modern day, a couple hundred years old max. One, going through just the idea that they're always putting it into your modern day mind with the idea of the World War II, the Rommel, the battles in the desert, that then romanticism with the desert, then bringing in that tourism of that century, in fact, which they tried to re-spark, if you recall, in the 70s with the Tutankhamun boy king nonsense going around LA, of many places, the major cities, showing that junk to everyone and getting everyone wanting to go get into pyramid power at the time in the 70s, and drink your tab and put a pyramid on your head. So you can see that the so-called, in quotes, Great Pyramid, nothing more than a construct and an amusement, is in showing in reality not that big of a building. I understand everyone wants to tell you that it's huge and that these guys say these bricks were so big and these stones. Nonsense. You can actually see that these so-called photos from the 1800s are two photos in one. You can see, just like the Trinity hoax nukes, that those are two photos, one super transposed on top of the other. All right, period. The magical Giza Plain is what I call it, because this almost seems to be an artist's rendering of what they want it to look like when it's finished, to me, because it's slightly off from the finished product. All right, there's too much junk. There's not enough junk. There's too much junk and there's not enough junk. It just doesn't match with what they're showing you today as being the modern day plateau. And of course people say, oh, it got buried in no gibberish. I'm about to show you some of that stuff that supposedly got buried and uncovered. And you tell me if that's thousands of years old, all right? Oh, but before we leave, one of my favorite old photos, always from a long distance, and to show you, a different angle. That, of course, these have been around forever. Just ask the local people; they've always seen them, right? This is yet another composite photo where you can see that the two planes, and I'll be doing a video actually pretty soon, in the next week on taking pictures and leveling and that type of thing. Anyways, you can see that this forward picture coming up to the tree line, beyond the tree line, is not level with the image in the background, the so-called pyramids. Also, there appears to be an extra pyramid there. Where to go, You see that one right next to the tree there? Well, because the three others, the little three small ones, should be over here to the far left. See, they screwed this one up. Must have been a composite drawing. Okay, here's all they did, man. You can see this is nothing more than a standard rock outcropping, which is what these pyramids were based on. They were just based on this standard rock. They then just uncovered the rock, you can see that this is a manufactured head they put on there. Manufactured head. They put that on, they uncover this natural rock, and then they show you this. Let me show you what they did. Okay, so take a look at this. This is ridiculous, man. So then they cover up the so-called paws with nothing but artwork. And you're supposed to assume that that's a sphinx. And they have people like Robert Bauval and Graham Hancock and idiots like Rentz and Art Schmel and George Snorri putting out the story that this is a sphinx. This is nothing more than a sandstone sculpture, which they created a couple hundred years ago, max. And this is just recent, these paw things. That's very recent. Look at that ridiculousness. This is a sideshow. It's an attraction, and I'm going to even show you more evidence of that. Here they go, moving an entire temple. Now you can tell you can look at that and see that that's not old. You can see that that's newly manufactured junk being put together by the numbers. Can't you? That's not ancient. That's not thousands of years old. That's lucky if it's a couple months old. More great evidence. Oh, luckily the paw that's shown, right, has been honed. And the one that's on the other side, look, even though it's supposed to be exposed, it's not even there, man. It's all made up gibberish. It's all gibberish. Look at the stone, man. You can see it's just sandstone. All right, moving on to more proofs of this amusement park. Going into the idea of the chevrons, as soon as I saw that, I said that's cathedral work. That's 1800s cathedral work right there. I'll go ahead and put a pillar from an English chapel up, and you'll see that it's the exact same Masonic angles. Same thing. Look at this layout. Just look at it now that you've seen. Just look at the layout. You look at the sandstone sphinx. You can see that that's just been cut out of the ground because I showed you those earlier pictures, right? Well, none of the stuff was even there. Yet that's above the level, right? And they're supposed to have dug that out, right? Nonsense. And you're supposed to just tell me that all the local people just sat around why over hundreds of years these different people came from around the world to rediscover the pyramids. And in the intermission between those times, the local people just, hid up in the trees. Right? Tricky Dick. Back to the 1888. This is a joke. Look at this. Look, that it's barren wasteland. It's nothing more than an attraction, a roadside attraction. built 100 years earlier, and these guys were just trying to bring it back into vogue. Strike a pose, man. You can see that that's not ancient. Alright? They took sandstone, they carved it, they made it look like big bricks. They told you it weighed a ton of shit and that nobody could move it, not even with the most advanced technology ever. It's all a song and dance, man. That's all you're ever going to see. Don't tell me, and hey, listen, all of a sudden, just so happens that just down the boat path, you know, that, yeah, I can get you those cruise tickets, a couple $100, you know, no worries. Oh, we have plenty of other little temples too that just so happen to be in the perfect little spot for you. And of course, through time, we had all this manual labor, all these armies. This would be the 11th Australians. All these guys got to, you know, help the locals out and dig out their culture, right? When it's nothing more than they were just digging out the production. This stuff's produced locally and recently. Look at that. It's not thousands of years old. It's gibberish. Alright? Now I'm speaking about the Giza Plateau in this video. There are what is called pyramids, which are in fact not pyramids, but they are called that. And they are not these structures. These are carnival attractions. You can see that's cathedral architecture. If there's any pyramids at all, they will be these tiny small ones, and those are dotted throughout Egypt. And they're not nowhere close to what you're looking at with these three Walt Disney productions. And these other ones are crumbling because they're made of sandstone. Alright? Because the ones inside that have the granite and the hard rock, that doesn't crumble, jokers. So that's been moved in and it's been honed and it's been laid by masons. And they sold you a bill of goods for a couple $100 years now. Alright? Because I'm putting the fact that these things were made somewhere in the 1700s. Alright? Couple $100 years old max. Period. Alright? They were built to look like this. That's why they look so ridiculous now. Alright, enjoy, have a great time. Alright? The pyramids are a hoax. A roadside show, a carnival attraction, nothing. Yes, so with this video I'd like to go ahead and show you that in this world you're always given the idea of wonder and love, the tunnel of love, the idea of the ticker tapes, right? The flags, the concern, the wanting to know what's in there. Alright, you see that there's the rest out there you can still do, but then what's in there, right? So then you look inside there, and then that is where then the eye, the apple of the eye becomes the deception, the fallen light, right? So what I wanted to do is then look back and look at the idea of the Sphinx, that hoax, joke, over time, and I'm going to use the dates given. This is 1572 right here, and that is how the Sphinx is represented as a head on a platter idea. All right, and then plateaus, and not much else, right? Later on, you have the same idea, but then with a much in 1591, a lot more so-called little pyramids out there with a few notable ones, and then the Sphinx being nothing more than a head on a platter again. A few years later, things are changing. 1615 rolls around. You want to go ahead and you have a better idea. You decide, okay, we're going to do this motif. Well, hold the phone. Didn't work out well. 1653 rolls around. You have this understanding. Now look very closely at this. Do you understand that that's Abel? That's the head of Abel, the head of the righteous on a platter. Then do you see that Nord, or the north, is actually pointing what you would consider to be south, or flipped on its head, the hanging man, the anguished righteous man? Then that is then the idea of Abel calling out to have his, to be avenged from having Cain whacking him on the head, right? That's the origin. That is then the idea of the good shepherd. So then 1665, you then see that the Sphinx is turned into a woman, but yet still a head and a torso. Noticing, check this out, at the dress of the so-called Egyptians. Nothing like they would have you believe. Anyway, look at this. Now it's becoming the idea of a woman. Isn't that interesting? All right. 1665 again, showing you a different rendition or drawing, shows you the Sphinx as being an idea of the more feminine now head dress, yet still being in this case what looks like the European male face. And also then you have the idea of what looks like the city on the cloud, right? Then of course 1698 rolls around and you want to get back to this kind of motif. I like the let's do they had their own little culture going on type idea, and so then we have that in there. Okay. 1724 rolls around. That's your 77 flipped. You have not only the idea of the Sphinx coming in just as being the head on a pike, but you also have the full winged creature idea. So then those combined, hey, no better idea than to combine them. So then later on, you have 1755 rolling around, and you start to then bring in the idea of what you see now as this head in the desert that was buried in time, buried by sand in time, with the other, attractions in the back. And then this is then forward from here, taken out and shown to you as being undug or uncovered. And of course, all that is they're just building it, out of the sandstone. They've decided, hey, we can just make this attraction a little bit bigger. All right. Now it's getting, of course, closer, and you can see that they always make a story about how the nose falls off. The nose falls off because you're trying to mold and shape and hone very soft material. It just gave way and fell off, dude. That's the answer to that question. Yeah, so by 1823, you see that the 14, the double 7, you see that they've gone from the idea of the spiritual into let's putting this into action, having an attraction, changing the design of the head to camouflage the idea that that's the anguished man or the fallen man, the man on the plate, at the mercy of the world. And then the three pyramids, of course, will represent the fallen trinity. You can see what I've done here is I've just aligned up two different angles of the same shot to show you just the depth, that it was just nothing more than dug out of sandstone and created into what appears to your eye as being the shape of a cat. And they just kept adding to it as they uncovered it. That was the construction of it. Do you see what I'm saying? They constructed it as they went. You can see that. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and twist the angle of this camera from some other pictures I found so that you can see it blends perfectly into the background. If you were standing there and you lopped the head off, you wouldn't even notice it. You would say that's just part of the hill. It's very hard to see because it is in fact part of the hill. It always has been, and it's, man, such a trick. So going back to this, you can see that this is a Masonic story, this 36-year Oxford mathematician, but it's interesting that they put it out because they added the fact that he said it was full of junk and that it had stucco. Now stucco again goes back to the 1700s and the 1800s cathedral buildings with the stucco and that idea. And it also shows that it was just not very well thought of. It was more just as a afterthought because it was soot and blackness. Probably they had from somebody burning fires in there. You know, it was just junk. It's not some revered treasure. All right. So this is then what you see if you're a modern day person walking up to the carnival attraction. You're passing the lion, right? The lie is turned on as you go up to the top. As you quite literally have to huff your way up to get lied to. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so you can see I've been showing you that this is the 777 code hoax throughout, but I'd like to show you the biggest hoax of all, and the announcement of the hoax is the Bonaparte hoax. So on the 14th of July, the 777 right there, Bonaparte, Bonaparte, all right, left Cairo for the pyramids, which are oblong cubes, being that they're six-sided. You can stand flat on top. Therefore, that is a representation of the cube, or the 68. Anyways, moving forward, he intended to stay 3 to 4 days, which is again your 7. Of course, he could not go because he had to go off to his hoax war. But then, of course, the other reason that he couldn't go inside and he never went inside was because they didn't exist yet. They were building them. That's the inside joke. Get it? So that would have been in the 1700s, like I was saying, that this construction would have been happening. All right. So I'd like to move forward and then just show you some more just perspective shots. Show you that even those smaller little kind of stair step things are not that, they're just small little things. They could have also been built by these cats for all I know. It doesn't matter. They're gibberish as well. Look at this next picture. You're going to see a truck next to them. They're very small. In fact, they may have just been built with side materials. Regardless, these things have never been proven to be anything more than just an eyesore, quite frankly. And in fact, they've never been proven to be anything more than a physical representation, an idea on the flat plane in a third dimension, a way to tell you a story, if you're willing to see it. All right, that's what that's about. Right. So then you can see the perspective here. You can see that truck, and then it looks like I'm not going to say Budweiser, but looks similar to it, like a concessions truck there. It's just nothing more than a carnival. You can see that this is nothing more than built into the sandstone, or the what's known as the native rock. All right. I'm also going to show you a different angle and then take away the head and show you that it's just you would be hard pressed to say that you're missing it if it went away. All right, and all I'm going to do is just remove the head part, and you're going to see that it's just nothing more than built into the landscape, giving the human animal, and I'm only saying the human animal because that's how these people act. They act like they're brainless. They act like they have no. You act like you don't have to know what's real. You act as if you get to walk through life and you get to not know what's real, and somebody else is going to do it for you. And this nonsense goes on and on and on. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the head. Big deal. Alright? I'm just trying not to get overworked here. I'm just saying, man. Do you see how easy this is? So they manipulate, man. They manipulate people into believing these mythological stories. Alright? They give you nothing but despair. Alright? Give you nothing but despair. Alright? Oh, by the way, just so you know, Zahi Hawass, that clown, is Nassar, man. I've told you that before. He's the same character. He played Nassar before he played Zahi Hawass. It's always in the family. It's always kept close. This, again, you can tell is just the manufactured head stuck on top of an outcrop of natural stone, and then they decided, hey, you know what? We can expand this thing in the future. And the problem is they got a little bit too big for their britches, because if you look at what they did with the final product, it's too big. The head the head doesn't fit. So my What my assumption, and this is purely an assumption, is that they messed up a couple times so that the head was getting a little bit too small, and they're like, dude, you gotta really get it right this time. And then the nose fell off, and he's like, all right, just stop. That's it. We're staying with that. That's what we're going with. You know, bring in the tourists, let them in the gate, because it's not getting any better than this.
Yeah, hey there.
Hey, Papa, how you doing?
Yeah, why don't we dig it down and like sculpt a cat out of it?
Oh, maybe make a sphinx out of it and make people think that it's a big cat?
Yeah, why don't we do that? We can charge twice as much.
Hey, there you go. Why don't we just do that? Why don't we just go ahead and build a cat as we go out of it? And just like it's a big cat box. Yeah. Oh, here's some native folks looking at it from the same exact angle. Do you see the problem there? It's all on the same plane, so I brought these guys on top to the plane for you so you can see that. They just dug into the earth and created a monster out of the natural sandstone.
Yeah, Dave, that's what happened.
Well, thanks, Polly. I mean, you see that, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's why they missed it the first time. They were looking in the wrong direction, man. It's to the left, guys.
Yeah, guys, so anyways, thanks for the show.
Hey, Papa, thanks for showing up. What's going on?
Well, yeah, I was just getting about to do the rips.
Okay, I'll join you. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, Dave.
So again, beware to not cast your pearls to the swine, because they are undeserving. And also maybe get out of the way of the eights. This is nothing but a bunch of eights nonsense, a bunch of cattails, a bunch of lies in the sand, man. You're gonna comb the desert. You're gonna comb the desert for the truth, huh? So anyways, enjoy the sandbox. You know what they call it in video gaming? A sandbox is a world where you get to create your own adventure, friend. You know, so be your own guide. You know, like big old Twinkie legs. I mean, give me a break now. Look like big old Twinkie legs. You gotta be kidding me. No, man. It's right to the left. I'm telling you, dude. It's right there.